Hey, this is part 2 of the Nikon D600 versus the 610 oil spot video. We got the camera back from Nikon and it's been serviced. It took 753 images, and this is my finding of that experience. What I plan on doing in this video is to address the Nikon return processes, customer service experience, the duration of the service, what was replaced on the camera body, are the dust spots back, is a D600 class action lawsuit justified, oil dust failure rate of other D600 users, Nikon loyalty, and a Nikon public statement for the D600, how to repair your D600 yourself, is it time to abandon Nikon, what camera system would I recommend? So thank you for everybody for subscribing. This is going to be part 2. This is what part 1 looks like if you wanted to click on it or search on it. It looks like all the reports that are coming out is that the 610 is not showing signs of oil and over 10,000 shutter clicks. I don't know if that's propaganda or it's the truth. I would seriously wait and find out. And watch this video and form your own conclusions. So I'm just going to tell you the truth because I think you can handle the truth. So this is the official Nikon statement. If you Google search Nikon D600 oil spot statement, you're going to see a lot of good information from Nikon rumors in there. And there's only going to be one statement that I found came from Nikon. And that was published on 2/20/13 and then updated on 3/25/13. And they said there's an appearance of random, spots on their images, were generally attributed to the natural accumulation of dust. We understand that dust will occur over time, and the steps may be taken to reduce the occurrence, and the completion and elimination of these dust spots may sometimes be difficult. It goes into trying to blow off your sensor, and then naturally, if you can't blow off the sensor, you're going to want to send it back. I don't recommend wet cleaning your sensor. In the event that you wet clean it and over wet clean it, you're going to damage the sensor, and there's not going to be any warranty given. You Google search more about the oil spots. There's one user here that went into a wet cleaning, and he did a great job of explaining it. Let me try to find it here on the fly. Brian Toby did a great job of wet cleaning the sensor, and the wet cleaning didn't really work for, I think, like 3 or 4 times. You had to do it. Finally got the sensor kind of free of the residue, and then the splatter was starting to build up after a few hundred shutter clicks after that. So this is a great video. You're going to have to send your camera back to Nikon, and this is going to be my experience with sending the camera back to Nikon for the first time for the oil spots. So it all started with a phone call on 10/14 on wanting to send my camera back for the oil spots. I had a 90-day warranty with a refurbished camera. Part 1 will tell you all about why I went to buy a refurbished camera, thinking that it would have been a repaired item out of the box. It took they wanted to see some files to prove or analyze whether it's splatter and to send it back. They had no problems with you putting it in a box, paying the shipping and handling and the insurance, and they'll take a look at it. I had a problem paying out of pocket because of the well-known issue with the spots, and I really wanted a return authorization. So there's 2 different methods. One is to create an account, an Nikon account, and they issue you a service order number, and then you attach some photos to the service order number. In my video on part 1, their website wasn't really working too well, and I called it in and talked to I actually talked to George up there that you see his name, trying to tell him his website is down, and they really didn't care about their website. So I went from 10/14 and then a series of on 10/15, let's see how many phone calls. 1, 2, 3, 4 phone calls on 10/15 to finally get them to push a return service authorization through. And basically it's like, look, you don't need to see the images. Please just send me a return authorization. I'll get it to you and, take care of it for me. On the other hand, I have another user that I know down in Florida. He actually called them. He had a much better experience than I did. And he's out of his 90-day refurbished warranty, and they're taking the camera back, and they're willing to work on it for no charge, even though he's out of the warranty. So I highly recommend do not wet clean your camera, send it back, and push the issue of getting return authorization, because you shouldn't have to pay for this type of manufacturing mistake. Let me back that up. I did get a quote for repair on 1022, and I wanted to know if I had to approve that repair. On the paperwork, it basically said that if you sent it out and it's covered under warranty, you don't have to approve anything. We'll repair it and ship it back to you. But I just didn't want to take any chances. I want to say, please make the repair. I approve of it, even though it's under warranty. And that was that phone call. Then I received the package on 10/31 in the mail at my door, and it was just sitting there. So nobody had to sign for it. I have a D600 body sitting there at my doorstep that nobody had to sign for. So just be aware of that. I don't know why that was the case, but if you're in a neighborhood where things tend to walk, that's a concern as well. All right. After I opened up the package, this is what it looks like, how it was packaged, and the type of service repair that was done. Oddly enough, the back screen display protection cover, when I received it initially brand new, it was a broken piece of plastic. It wouldn't stay on the camera, so I put tape on there to keep it on there. It was back at the factory for servicing, and they didn't even care or notice or take care of that issue. So, we're talking about a $1 piece of plastic on the back. You'd thought they would have slapped a new one on. So this is what they did. They replaced the shutter mechanism and 2, 4, 6 sponges. I hope that sucks up all that oil. So that's basically what they repaired. Okay, right out of the box, went outside with the camera and inspected a few things, and this is what we have. We got a dust spot from the factory, lower left-hand corner, and I'm just going to go up to where the problem areas would have been. So we got some issues here. So right out of the factory, from the repair, we've got something lower left, and maybe something up in here, right there. Okay. All right. So other than that, it looks pretty darn clean to me from the factory. So that's coming back from the factory. Definitely have a dust spot and another small speck in the upper right-hand corner. So let's keep going with this. I shot the camera for one day only, and I didn't put all these shutter clicks on one day. Unfortunately, when you figure you get a new shutter mechanism, that Nikon would reset your shutter counter. Apparently, I have a D600 with new shutter mechanism with 12,692 shutter clicks on it. I only ran it through 753 tests. So if you want to take my shutter count, you list 753. It gives you an idea of my my shutter count on this camera. So what would be your opinion on that? Do you think they should reset your shutter if you get a new shutter mechanism put in there? All right, then I ran it through 753 pictures over the weekend. Video, and did everything. I deleted a lot of images I didn't want. And this is what I am left with after shooting the camera. Let's check and see how many dust spots we have. Let me go back to the beginning and see. All right, we're in a JPEG. I want to use a RAW just so we could see. ISO, okay, 50 millimeter f22, and we're going to go 1:1, and we're going to zip around. So we knew we had that one from the factory there, right out of the box. And then we had only one spot from the factory up in this area. Now it looks like I'm getting the same thing, the type of splatter on the upper left. All right, let me zip around the photo a little bit more. So we got some stuff going on. I don't know how well YouTube's going to compress this, but there's a spot there, lower left, and we got a whole bunch of splatters. Now this is a new shutter mechanism, brand new factory replaced shutter mechanism. It's 6 sponges. There's all dots all over the place up in here. 753 shots, and I could actually see it in a JPEG image as well. Just for the sake of argument, I just want to say that if you feel that dust and oil is normal, you're severely disillusioned, and you should continue to drink fluorinated water because it's working wonders on your ability to think for yourself. I'm going to show you a D90 that is a very old camera. It has 56,864 shutter clicks. It's been beaten to death in the rain. The internal eyepiece display doesn't work. Doesn't give you your exposure integers. You know, it meters fine and shoots fine. It's just you can't. It doesn't give you any display inside the eyepiece of what it's doing for exposure. And I've never, ever, ever, ever cleaned the sensor, whether a swab, a blower, or wet cleaned this. I never touched it. Okay, so I want to show you what a D90 looks like with 56,864 shutter clicks. You just saw what a D600 looks like after 753 images and after the shutter mechanism was replaced by the factory from Nikon Service Center in New York. Just bear with me. I gotta find the files on the D90. Okay, here's a D90 ISO 200 f22. Same lens that I tested the 600 with. So I'm just going to scroll down here. We're at the 1:1 crop. All right, we got a little tiny specks there, but they're more transparent than. Let me make sure I'm in RAW. Okay, so it's a RAW image. We have a tiny speck there. Very thin, translucent, like much less than the D600. Very small translucent spot there. Very tiny small spot there. Nowhere near as bad as a refurbished D600 with 753 shutter clicks on it. This is a D90. A D90 with 56,864 shutter clicks on it. Never touched the sensor, never cleaned the sensor. That's what the sensor looks like. Oil and dust. For everybody out there that wants to take a side on this D600, you don't have a leg to stand on until you own one and go through the pain and hardship of having this problem and not having it solved properly. It's a real kick in the groin because, you know, we've been faithful with this Nikon product all this time. And, you know, the D700 needed a replacement. It needed to be upgraded to something that has at least 20 megapixels. The 5D Mark II came out. Then the flood hit in Taiwan, wiped out the Nikon factory. And then for a number of years, nothing came out. You know, there was nothing. And a D800 really is not what I need. It's not it shoots too slow. It's not a sports camera. It's not an everyman's type of camera. I can't do event and wedding photography effectively the way I shoot with the D800, and I don't want to have to process 36 megapixels and or the raw files. It's just not feasible for me. So to have this, I mean, I jumped on it. It was almost a year after it was released. I bought a refurbished one thinking it was going to be solved. And everybody that I know that has a refurbished one or a brand new one has oil spots. So this concerns me that it was sent back, and I'm having these issues after repair. It concerns me greatly. Had the opportunity to kind of research a little bit in the downtime with the camera getting repaired, and reached out to Mr. Hogan. If you have an opportunity to support him and his work and his site, I recommend you do. He answered me back within one business day and shed some light on the situation. I was really frustrated, and I wanted to know if there was warranted to have a class action lawsuit against the Nikon product line of the D600. He was really awesome to answer me back. I kind of basically said, hey, do we have an opportunity to have a class action lawsuit against Nikon? And he's written tons of articles about the D600, and with Nikon not really making a public statement, I kind of rely on other people that are in the industry that have influence and have other subscribers and followers that could give feedback. So basically, he basically told me that no, if it fails, just keep sending it back. And that's basically what you're going to have to do. If you have a Nikon D600, send it back, or try to sell it, or even possibly donate it to charity. Because what's going to happen is it's going to retain no value. You're going to go to sell it in a year or two from now. Nobody's going to want it. So really try to send it back, get a return authorization, keep sending it back over and over and over again every time they don't repair it. Because apparently there's the lemon law where it's 3 returns and then they have to replace it. So and it's looking like the D610 is possibly a good egg. I really thought hopefully that the D600 would have all the same internal parts as the 610, but because Nikon has not acknowledged and remained silent on everything they've done so far to date, nobody really knows. I don't know. So what I can tell you is that Mr. Hogan did reply back and say, I know of no one who ultimately did not get a working camera that didn't have dust splatter problems via the normal method of recourse, in parentheses, warranty repair. Now, I don't like how Nikon has handled this whole thing. The quiet denial, which we've been talking about here, isn't winning them friends for sure, but that's their choice as a company. It goes to show you, what are we going to do? What are we going to do here with Nikon? I totally went to Nikon because I enjoyed their features. Okay, their autofocus system. Not a big fan of the white balance. I'm still having white balance issues. Let me show you what I mean. All right, here is an example. Okay, I'm shooting raw, of course. I could post-edit the white balance. I'm shooting auto white balance. But, if you think that this is a normal looking image, you're severely disillusioned, okay? Color checker passport, take your little eyedropper, all right, and then you click on the color checker passport right there, boom. That's really what it basically looked like that day. That's pretty accurate, all right? A big difference from that. Let me just copy my white balance only here and go to the swatch. If you think that's normal, you're severely disillusioned. This is Nikon auto white balance, okay? Boom. So, as a Nikon shooter, I've always been struggling with getting the right balance, especially with mixed lighting indoors. And if you're shooting with Canon shooters, it's more of a task to have the images line up. I'm not a big Canon guy. I never was, just because of the autofocus system, okay? But it's really just disheartening that I've waited on the sidelines so long, used my D700, sold a perfectly good working, repaired, awesome D700 to go to a D600, and now having these issues. Okay, the white balance issues are still there. I love the features, 2 card slots. I love having the exposure compensation on a global or a background type of exposure compensation, and the flash remains TTL. A big must for wedding photography is it's basically like a Canon 7D feature where you roll down the exposure compensations 2 stops, you get the background a little dim, and then your flash, your speed light will light the subject up, and it's great. The old way of doing things is you'd have to back down the global 2 stops and then bring up your flash 2 stops. So the feature set is great. It's just all the problems that are coming with this, and the lack of Nikon really supporting the die-hard users, the users that were there from the beginning and went through all this product line. I sat on the sidelines, all these 5D Mark II users doing all these weddings with these 20 megapixel cameras and just doing everything with a 12 megapixel camera. It's just you don't understand. So where do we go from here? I really think that you should get rid of your D600, walk away from it, call it a loss, sell it, and do whatever you want, send it back 1,000 times to Nikon, whatever. If you have the money set aside and you still want to be a Nikon user, stick to the D7000. I don't recommend the 7100 because the 7100, even though it has a great image sensor and everybody is praising it, nobody fails to tell you that the 700 is a JPEG only camera. By that I mean it will not shoot more than 3 consecutive RAWs. So if you're a wildlife photographer and you're using the crop factor, you are not going to get more than 3 shots off with the highest speed card in the RAW setting. If you're a wedding photographer, you can't motor drive. It's going to be 1 shot, wait 10 seconds, take another shot. So I've used it. It's not for me. It's and I don't think it's for any RAW shooter out there. The D7100. Stick to the D7000. The old cameras, the 300s, 300Ss, they still have value. If you have a D700, hold on to it. I mean, I think that's the best Nikon camera ever made. It was an everyman's camera. I mean, for that price range, it gave you so much, and you could throw a grip on it and get 10 frames per second. Sure, it has buffer problems, but all of Nikon's cameras have buffer problems. All of Nikon's cameras have a limited buffer space. I really don't know where I'm going to go from here. The 70D has really caught my interest. Going back a year ago, actually, if I went back 2 years ago, I would say a DX or a CMOS sensor, there's no way. There's no way I would professionally want to shoot that. But given the increase in technology, as a professional shooter, I think 3200 ISO is where you should be at. It gives you the ability to shoot 2.8 lenses and f4 lenses. I could shoot f4 in very dim lighting situations if I bump the ISO up. It gives me greater flexibility to shoot some nice lenses. So I need to be at a camera that does 3200 ISO. If it's a crop sensor, I don't care. It just, as long as I'm there. Crop sensors do a great job of using the best parts of a full frame lens. You're using like the innermost elements of the lens, so your image is just, I think, sharper. So I've been looking at the the 70D. I think I could get that camera, sell off some of my glass maybe, and do like a lateral change. And then when the new 7D Mark II comes out, possibly entertain that camera. Definitely a 1DX, 1D4. They're all good cameras as well. The one thing that I loved about Nikon was the value. They throw in all the features into a Nikon, the creative lighting system, the great autofocus, dual card slots. They give you everything that up front, no matter if it's a small camera or a large camera. Heck, you may even be able to get away with a 5200 or throw some good glass on it, and it may be all you need. I mean, I've hooked up the Wi-Fi adapter dongle and used some off-camera third-party software where I could focus stack and everything with it, and I'm doing it with the D600, and you could do it for a 5100 and a 5200. So those are the possibilities. I don't mind a crop sensor as long as I have good 3200 ISO. Game changer was I was really tracking Sony for the longest time. I've been tracking Sony for a long time now. Was kind of waiting to see if they were really serious. It's kind of hard to walk away from a company that you've invested all this glass in. I know some shooters that are with the Sony, and the images are really crisp, and the JPEGs out of the camera, the white balance is phenomenal. I mean, really, really good. So you're getting like the Nikon color, but you're getting the Canon white balance. For some reason, the translucent lens, it's just not hitting me, because us as photographers, sometimes we won't even use a UV filter because we got an $1,800 lens on there, and we're buying these cameras with an anti-atlasing filter. Do I want to shoot through a translucent mirror? I demoed one. I loved it. Great ergonomics. The video was great. It was a lot of fun. There is a system lag where when you shoot, and if you're shooting slower shutter speeds, there's blackout in the display because you're using an OLED display. So it's a little bit harder to track the subjects as you're doing sports. I think it's manageable, and I think it's something that you'd have to learn and dive into that product line. I know Gary Fong uses the A77 around his house. It's his go-to camera, and he loves it, and he does a lot of videos on YouTube about it. With that said, I think the alpha killers was the Nikon 70D. The Canon 70D. 1 year ago, I would say get the Alpha 77. I'm not big on the A99 just yet, because then you got to go to all that full frame glass. Even though I'm a full frame shooter, I'm kind of rethinking things now, and DX is really coming a long way. So the 70D, I think, is going to really hurt Sony big time. I think the focusing system in this camera for video is surpassing the A77. Even though the A77 is pretty darn good, I think the 70D looks to be a little bit better, and you can match it up with the nice L glass, and it tracks very nicely. So Sony now just released the A7 line, the A7R, and the RX10. I like where this is going. This is one of the other reasons why I took a back seat with Sony. It's because they kind of keep reinventing themselves, and then you could be kind of lost with products as it kind of evolves. Something about the NEX line going away. Has anybody heard of that? Or changing a name from the NEX to the Alpha. Not quite sure what that's going to do to the lenses, because I know that you have NEX glass, you have Alpha, and then you have the full frame glass. What I liked the most was the RX10 camera. The RX10 gives you an f2.8 constant aperture on a Carl Zeiss from a 24 millimeter to 200 millimeter equivalent. Perfect for events and wedding, and small. I'm getting tired of carrying around two big lenses on a full frame. The only thing is it's on a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor. Now, if it could handle 3200 ISO comfortably, I think I can make it work. Especially if I light up the room with strobes, okay? Because there is a universal hot shoot, or you could throw the Sony flash system on, and it has a really cool feature where it has a light for constant light if you want to do video as well. That's the way it's going. I mean, if I could get a fixed lens with hopefully like a CMOS size sensor or a full frame sensor, I'm there. I think I would really try it. I'm not really too big or sold on the Micro Four Thirds. I know I really like the Panasonic codec and the Panasonic colors. I'm just not sold yet on the Micro Four Thirds size. I think what's going to happen is it's going to get to a point where it can only evolve so much, whereas the CMOS sensor seems to be right there. They could get 24 megapixels on a CMOS crop sensor. It's pretty darn decent. So I think that there's more room for a CMOS to expand. And 2 years ago, I wouldn't use one professionally. Today, I would. In hindsight, I think we covered everything. If you're a Nikon user, I think the D610 is a great buy. And maybe trying out the lower end 5300, save all that money. The 5200s, get some really good glass, throw it on those smaller cameras, get the Wi-Fi plug that goes in there, and do some remote shooting with the Wi-Fi. If you're interested in what I use with my Wi-Fi, let me know. Maybe I'll do another video on that. Thank you for really taking the time to listen to this. Please post this up on your Nikon forums, Facebook, wherever you want. Use this video. The opinions are my own. This is what I'm going through. If you're going through this, you're not alone. And thank you for your support system, for leaving all these comments on there. It kind of helps me. I got a really upset stomach with everything that's going on. And it kind of helps me power through it, that I'm not alone. And if I could help somebody out there and avoid this issue, staying away from the D600 would be the best route to take. Just stay away. Just let them sit on the shelves. You don't need one. Okay, you don't need the hassle. Thanks again. If you hit the like button, thank you so much. If you want to reply or leave a message, thank you. And unless you're really going through a D600 oil spot or dust issue, it's not normal. People just realize that, you can say all you want, and unless you're going through it, you really don't know how the rest of us are, okay? It's something that we got to get through as a Nikon shooting community, and hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. And with your help, maybe this video will get to corporate and they'll realize that, maybe having a public presence and addressing this issue may be a good idea. I mean, we see it all the times with politicians with skeletons in their closet, and life goes on. Americans can handle the truth. I mean, just admit it, get that loyalty back, take care of the problem, and solve the problem correctly. And let's move on together. If Nikon, you're willing to do that, I'm willing to stay with you, okay? So I've had a good run so far, and despite that it's maybe not a perfect camera, I'm willing to give it some more time if you could make things right for myself and all the other people out there. Thank you, YouTube community. Thank you for the likes, and thank you for subscribing. Good luck to everybody out there.